Hi, welcome to episode 110 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. My name's Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode's show notes will be. And I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my handspun yarns. Finally, we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea, and if you haven't come over and joined us, please think about it. Right now, we have a craft along going on. It is the gift along, which is something that I do every year. Between November 1st and December 31st, every knit that you finish, and I say knit, but I mean knit, crochet, weave, spin, sew, anything that you finish that is a gift for someone else. So for someone other than you is eligible to be entered into a prize drawing. I still have not decided what those prizes will be, but I usually have anywhere between 2 and 4 prizes that I draw for at the very beginning of January. So this is just a fun craft along that is meant to sort of encompass all the gift knitting you may be doing at this time of year anyway. And the gifts don't have to be for the holidays. I suspect most of us are working on holiday knits. So that is sort of what it's geared towards, but it can be birthday presents or just anything that you make for someone other than yourself. So if you haven't come over and joined, please do. I set up a chat thread where we can talk about things. That's where I'm going to post my finished objects because they are not eligible for prizes. But you can chat, and then you can also post your finished objects in the finished object thread. And that thread is where I will conduct the random number generator drawing for prizes. We already have a couple people who have finished hats and submitted them. There is no chatter as of yet, but I started the chatter thread, and if you want to talk about all the projects that you're doing at this time of year, you are more than welcome to come over and do that. So hi, welcome. If this is your first time viewing, thanks for checking me out. If you are coming back for another episode, thank you. I very much appreciate that. It is Sunday, November 6th. It has been a lovely week. It was kind of busy towards the beginning of the week, and then my boss is now on vacation through the middle of this next week, so I have been catching up on things that I desperately need to catch up on, but I've gotten to sort of wear jeans to work and take things a little bit easier. There has been lots of crafting this week, and the weather has been absolutely delightful. It has been in the 60s and 70s, which is still warm for us at this time of year, but it has been dropping into the 40s and 50s at night, and I'm actually wearing a sweater today because when I woke up this morning, the house was about 60 degrees, and it was quite chilly. I put on sweats and then got under a blanket for a while and finally cracked and turned on the heat just a little bit to take the edge off. I think it was in the 40s last night, which is why the house was chilly this morning. The house is now up to 67 or 68, so much better and a little bit more tolerable. I am wearing my Nanny Swamo sweater from last year. This is out of fiber that I spun. It is Waterweed, which was a dark merino and silk blend from Hello Yarn, greens and blues and a little bit of browns. It's really hard to see in this light. I don't think this is the best light for this, and this is the Moxie sweater, and I can't remember who it is by, but it is on my project page. So it is keeping me nice and warm, and there is nothing I love more than pulling out a hand-spun sweater on a cool fall day. I hope that the weather is going to get with the program and get a little bit cooler so I can get more wear out of my woolens. So that was a bit of an introduction. Let's jump right in. I am drinking in my pottery mug today from Tamarack, West Virginia. I picked this up when we were out on a trip there several years ago. And today's tea is pumpkin spice from the Republic of Tea. This came in one of their catalogs not too long ago, and I decided to indulge today. It is a black tea with ginger, cinnamon, pumpkin, sweet blackberry leaves, nutmeg, cloves, and allspice. I'm not sure that it is my favorite pumpkin spice because I actually really do like Celestial Seasonings Sweet Harvest Pumpkin, but this is a decent tea and I do enjoy it. So that is Pumpkin Spice from the Republic of Tea. And as I always say when I talk about the Republic of Tea, if you want to sign up for their catalogs, they give you a free sample in every catalog. So I think they come out maybe once every other month. And you always get a free sample of tea in the catalog, so you get to try a bunch of different things and look at everything they have to offer. So that's one that I definitely enjoy receiving. And I have placed quite a few orders from them, so I'm not just milking it for the freebies, honest. So let's get to the knitting this week. I have a finished object, and this was actually for review. I talked a little bit about this last week. This is June Cashmere, and it is 100% cashmere DK weight. It is a 50-gram skein, and that translated to 150 yards. The colorway that I used was Scarlet, and this was generously sent to me by June Cashmere in conjunction with the folks at Stitchcraft Marketing for review, so I did not pay for this skein, full disclosure. They also sent a lovely package. I was thinking about showing this last week, but I didn't grab it. They sent a lovely package with materials about it, and obviously you can see the cashmere itself is gathered from goat farms in Kyrgyzstan, and then it is spun in Scotland and dyed in Maine. So it travels quite a bit. It is very, very lovely. One of the things that they sent me was they sent me a color card, and that is perfect on the colors. I used number 5, Scarlet, but the color card identifies all the colors that came with it, as well as a color card. So this would be really useful if I wanted to do future projects. So I really enjoyed that. They also sent a booklet about June Cashmere that was 8.5 by 11 full color, and that was really interesting to read. So I have to give them an A+ for sending out packages to reviewers of information about the company and learning about it. It has been a real pleasure. And the yarn itself was an absolute pleasure to knit with. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is soft. It is lush. It is just a tiny bit splitty on the needles. I had to be careful what I was doing, but I think that is normal for or it can be normal for luxury fibers because they are so short stapled. But the yarn looked like it was a 6-ply. And as I said, I had 150 yards, and I decided to do a cowl because I thought there would be nothing better than having that cashmere close up to your skin. And I picked the Zuzu's Petals cowl pattern by Karina Spencer, and it calls for, it is written for a couple different weights. It is written for a kind of worsted to Aran weight, and calls for about 165 yards in that one. And that, I believe she suggests you knit on size 8 or 9 needles. And then she also wrote it for a more sport to fingering weight gauge, and that one calls for 220 yards and to be knit on a 5 to 6 needle. Now, since this was DK, but I also wanted to make it go as far as I could, I put it on a size 7, which is where I really liked the fabric. And to be honest, I did a little bit of a mishmash with the sizes and charts to get what I wanted. So what I ended up with is this beautiful, it's basically like a bandana cowl. You start knitting it like a shawl, and then you join it in the back so that it is a cowl, so that it can be worn thusly. And my thought is, a couple things that I really like about bandana cowls, not specific to this yarn, but just in general, is that they stay in place. So unlike a scarf, you don't have to adjust it and worry about it falling off. Second of all, there is far less bulk behind your neck, which is going in your coat anyway, and it gives you lots to play with to keep you warm on the front where your coat may open. So I really like this style of knitting. I have knit a couple of these for myself, and I decided this would be a gift for my mom for the holidays because who doesn't love cashmere? And we're going to be in Chicago in winter, so I thought she would get some use out of it. Now, the yarn itself is just absolutely stunning. It feels amazing, and I was so very pleased with how I finished this. Like I said, it's not 100% like the pattern. I did use the charts, but I had to sort of modify them to fit with the yardage that I had and kind of what I wanted to do. And overall, I finished with just a couple yards left, so that makes me very happy. So that is my first Christmas knit, kind of done and out of the way. And of course, I knit for my family. We only meet at Thanksgiving. So my deadline is much shorter for these. I needed these to be done by November 20th, 25th. So this one is the first one done. It is absolutely delightful. I definitely have to thank June Cashmere for sending me a skein. And I will be ordering in the future because this is a beautiful yarn. And I definitely want something for myself now. So that is my finished object for the week, and thanks to June Cashmere and Stitchcraft Marketing. Also, I will be reviewing this on the blog, and I have quite a few photos, so if you are interested in reading a little bit more about it, I will probably put the post up tomorrow, so you are welcome to check that out. That will be over on the corner of Knit and Tea. So, let's move on to the other knits. I have been crafting quite a bit this week. I made a little bit of progress on my niece's sockhead hat. This is for my niece who will be visiting at Christmas, so I have a little while longer on this one. However, a lot of what I'm knitting takes concentration, and last night we went to a bar to hear a band play, and I needed something that would be very kind of quick on the needles. And so I worked on my niece's sockhead hat. I have now, this is the sockhead hat by Kelly McClure. And I have now finished the 2x2 ribbing, which is supposed to go on for 4 inches, and I have started in the stockinette portion. And the thing that I like about the stockinette portion is that it actually shows more of the colors. This is kind of a gray with all kinds of rainbow colors, and to the monitor and to photos, it translates as very red and pink, but there are all kinds of colors in here. There's yellow and green, and there's like little pops of teal and purple, and it's really all kinds of rainbow colors. There you can see just a little bit of the rainbow in there. Anyway, and the stockinette now is definitely letting that shine. Like over here, we've got just all kinds of rainbow colors. Well, it still looks kind of purple and pink, but I am really enjoying knitting with this. The yarn is Yarn Geek. Let's see if nope, I don't have the tag with me. The yarn is Yarn Geek. It is their Super Geek base, which is a merino nylon base, and it is in the colorway Boxcar, and I have plenty left to go. I am planning to stick to the pattern because my niece has a larger head than I do, and I think she would love a slouchy hat. So that is kind of in progress for when I need something to knit roundy on and not pay too much attention. I have plenty of other knits that I need to be working on, but like I said, sometimes you just need something super simple. I have not made any progress on my milkweed socks. I haven't picked those up this week, and nor have I made much progress on the mittens for my niece. I really need to get cracking on those. I did actually start the second mitten and do more of it last week, but and I guess I probably have like the mitten top to do now, and then I have to do both thumbs, and as I said, I don't really like doing thumbs, so I'm sort of leaving them off to the side. I want to do some, I keep calling them hand pockets. I basically want to do mittens for Miles, but without a thumb, and to hold his hands for the winter. So I'm going to do kind of an extra ribbed cuff, and then just do a little like round pocket for his hands to keep his hands warm when it's cool. And so I have those 2 projects to finish before I see my family, and I want to knit a hat for my dad, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then that should finish my family's gifts, and then I can move on to the gifts for Christmas for my husband's family, because we always spend Thanksgiving with my family and Christmas with my in-laws. So I have another month and a half to do those things, and I have another review yarn, which I'll discuss next week, because I have some other things for this week. So let's keep going. Nanny Swaymo. It is National Knit a Sweater Month, and as I talked about, I decided to put some of my Rhinebeck yarn to use. I am knitting the Lady Marple, which is a beautiful pattern by Nadia Cretin de Chêne. And it is a cardigan with some lace on the front. That's actually not a terrible picture. And so it's a pretty simple knit. I decided this year that with all the other holiday gifts and spinning and everything that I'm trying to do, that I wasn't going to knock myself out with a complicated Nanny Swaymo sweater. This is the one that I actually knit last year. And for those of you who were around then, I started one sweater pattern, and about halfway through the month, I decided it was too big and I didn't like it. And I started another sweater pattern. And I did manage to finish it by the end of the month, mostly with the help of knitting across country on the train for a couple days to go out to my parents. But it was tight, and I decided this year I would use some commercial yarn in a slightly heavier gauge, and that would make it a little bit easier for me. I do not know if I'm going to meet the 50,000 stitch requirement, but of course I'm not eligible for prizes anyway, and so the real benefit is that I knit a sweater and have a new sweater to wear this winter. So the pattern is European, and so it is mostly written in centimeter sizes, and I have not translated that to inches right now. I'm just using the other side of my tape measure because it's easier not to have to worry about converting everything. So what I have here is somewhere between 18 and 20 centimeters, which actually I do know 10 centimeters is 4 inches. So I have about 8 inches done. So far that brings me up to about 8,000 stitches. I'm hoping to hit 10,000 before the day is over. And I have done all the waist decreases, and I'm getting ready to do the waist increases. And of course this color is going to be super hard to photograph, but the front has these lovely lace panels. That's actually not a bad approximation of the colorway. I think it's a little bit more purple than blue. It's kind of an electric blue. It's beautiful. It approximates kind of a colorway. I don't know if you're familiar with the Plucky Knitter yarns. Several years ago, she did a colorway that she called Blueberry Sour, and I lusted after that colorway forever, and this totally reminds me of that. So yeah, so I have, like I said, worked the hem at the bottom. This is a bottom-up cardigan. And then I have worked the waist decreases, and I think I might have about 4 more rows to go before I hit 20 centimeters, and then I will start the increases. So I am pretty pleased with my progress for this week. So that is where I'm at. I do not expect to finish this sweater super early. Generally, it wouldn't take me that long to knit a worsted or Aran weight sweater, which is approximately what this yarn is. But I am working on other Christmas gifts and test knits and things, so my work on the sweater is not that much. I worked on this probably I worked on this 4 of the 5 days in November. So for 4 nights, that's not terribly bad. And I will, like I said, hopefully add another couple inches or a bunch more centimeters tonight. So that is the progress on my Lady Marple. And again, I am using, I don't have the tag in here either. This is Spirit Trail Fiberworks. They are jumbo skeins. They are 8 ounces and about 600 yards a piece of a really fluffy worsted Aran weight in Targhee. And I love the way it softened up in the swatch after I finished it. I'm knitting it on US 8s, and that is what I am using. So I'm excited to be able to use some Rhinebeck yarn right off the bat. So that is what's on my needles and what I touched this week. So I will briefly mention this coming week I am working on a secret test knit, and I can't say any more about that, but that is one of the things that will be taking my time this week. And the second thing is that I want to do a hat for my dad. This has been, knitting for my dad is kind of interesting because a couple years ago, he discovered that he was allergic to wool. He bought a really nice wool peacoat, and he discovered that it made him break out in hives around his neck. And I suggested that perhaps it was just the wool in the peacoat, whatever wool was used, because it might not be the softest wool, and so I suggested that he might have like a specific breed allergy, and we've tried a few other things, and nope, anything with wool makes his neck break out. So in the interest of him not being itchy all the time and constantly in hives and in need of Benadryl, I have taken to starting to knit for him in non-wool yarns. So when I decided I wanted to knit him a hat, I sort of had to decide what it was that I wanted to knit for him out of, and I needed to purchase a skein because I don't have anything that's non-wool in my stash. I pretty much knit with something that's at least in part wool. And so I went looking for cottons. I hate to use 100% acrylic because kind of a snob that way. But the problem with acrylic to me is that it doesn't breathe so much, and I didn't want him to get all sweaty under an acrylic hat. But I did need something that was going to be super easy care for him because he is going to throw it in the washing machine. So I had to take all of these factors into account, and I went looking, and I found a yarn called Cascade Avalon, and it is 50% cotton, 50% acrylic. And it is approximately a worsted weight, about 175 yards, and it says you can machine wash and tumble dry low, which is exactly what I was looking for. I found this skein on D-Stash. It was not expensive, and it feels pretty good. This is the colorway Denim, which is a nice, very kind of muted blue, very denim-like. And so I have this skein of yarn, and I haven't decided exactly what hat I'm going to knit him. I'm thinking maybe the Antler hat by Tin Can Knits, which is just a simple hat with cables, or I'm going to look through my library because I follow a thread on Ravelry about free patterns, free for a limited time. And so I'm constantly downloading patterns that are free for a limited time that I think I might end up knitting. And I particularly always download the hat patterns because I knit so many charity hats that I like to have different kinds of patterns because I get bored knitting the same thing over and over and over again. I mean, I have knit a million barley hats and a million Turner Square hats. Okay, maybe not a million, but at least a dozen of each of them. But I do like to try a new pattern. And especially when it's free, the price is right. So I'm going to check that out and cast on for a hat for my dad this week and hopefully have this and the test knit finished by next weekend so that then I can finish hand pockets. And if I have time, maybe one more hat for my girl Roxy. I have a skein of yarn that I bought specifically for her. It's by Martin's Lab. Martin's Lab is the dye lab of Justina Lorkowska's husband. She is a pattern writer who writes under Lett's Knits, Lettsknits. And Martin's Lab is her husband, who is a dyer, and he dyed a skein called Applejack, and my girl loves her My Little Ponies. So it is a fingering weight skein. It is yellows and pinks and peaches, and my plan was actually to hold it doubled and knit her a cushy hat with an enormous pom-pom. So if I don't get to it before we go up there for the holidays, I can always send it along later for Christmas. But like I said, I still have quite a Christmas to-do list. So those are my projects for this week, so that the following week I can start on a test knit, not a test knit, I'm sorry, a review knit, and I will bring that yarn to show you next week and speak about it then. So that's the knits for this week. So let's move over to the spins. Last week I was getting ready to ply a gorgeous braid of Julie Spins BFL silk in the bright, bright, bright green, and it is called So Ready for Spring. I finished it, I got wonderful yardage on it, and I gifted it to a friend yesterday, so it is not here for me to show you. You can check out my project pages, or I will probably post a photo on Instagram today of the finished skein. Next up, I showed you a braid of Hello Yarn. It was on Superwash Merino, and it was called Reflections on the Snow, in the Snow, Reflections in the Snow. And it was what I deemed Christmas colors, which was reds, greens, and browns. It looked like an evergreen forest with snow and berries, and it came out to be what I think is the most perfect Christmas yarn ever. It is all those pinks and reds and browns and greens, and this skein is just so much fun and squishy, and it reminds me of those variety packs of candy canes. And originally I thought this would make great socks, and it still might. It came out just a little bit thicker than I had intended, but that's okay. And it is Superwash Merino. It has not been washed yet. I just finished plying it this morning. So it is probably going to poof up a little bit, which means it's probably going to be a sport to DK weight. And as much as I hate to let this one go, this is going to go in the shop. One of the things that I thought about is the Ricky hat. That's knit in worsted weight, but you could probably adapt the numbers for sport or DK weight. And it is a beautiful hat that's reverse stockinette. And I think it would show this yarn amazingly, and it would be kind of pseudo stripy, but all these colors. And I think this would just make such an amazing winter hat. Oh, I love these colors, and to be honest, I wish I had another skein for me. But this is going up in the shop, so I'm gonna wash it and then photo it, and it should go up midweek, and I'll have a final yardage count, I'm guessing between 280 and 300. And if this looks like your cup of tea, please check it out because it is so lovely. And the perfect kind of wintry, Christmassy yarn. And if, I mean, I should get close to 300 yards. If you don't have huge feet and you wanted to do like house socks out of it, it is superwash merino. So that would work. Every so often I spin up a skein of which I only have one bump of fiber and I think, oh man, I want to keep that. But I am going to let this one go out into the world. So that brings me to this week. What I'm going to spin this week, I picked up a braid of Southern Cross fiber. This was a club braid from earlier this year. It is called Organic Greens, and it is in my very favorite blend that he does, which is that South African superfine merino. And it is pinks and greens and blues, and it's like a magenta and turquoise teal. It's got some mint green, and then it's got some olive green and some pale lavender. That is the perfect representation of the colorway. So that is what it is, and I am going to spin it this week. And oh my god, like I said, this braid is my favorite blend. Super soft. It is not superwash, but it will make something absolutely lovely. And this one is destined for the shop also. Most of the spins that I do in the next several weeks are going to be for the shop, just in case you want to pick a special skein for the holidays. So keep an eye out. So that is all I have for you today. Please come join us in the Knit Along thread for a chance to win prizes. And thank you for joining me today. And I will say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy sipping, You know, I hate it when I mess up my own tagline. Let's try this again. Happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping. And I'll see you next time. Bye.